From Green 960 in San Francisco, I'm Beth Greer, and this is your Supernatural Life. This show is part of the Green Morning, heard every Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific. My show is about taking natural living up a notch to supernatural living, and each week I interview top experts who show you ways to live a supernatural life. My goal is to keep us all healthy, and one way to do that is to become aware that everything, what we eat, touch, use to clean, build, and furnish our homes, as well as the invisible electronic pollution we're exposed to, is linked to our health and well-being. So I try to do something every day where I mindfully am involved in my own health and healing. I consciously eat food that is healthy for my body. I walk in nature daily and intentionally use thoughts to uplift my spirit because I know that this will keep me feeling good and it's great for my immune system. Well, today's show is about yet another way we can be mindful in our health and healing. It's about using the power of sound and music to inspire, uplift, and heal. Music and sound have been shown to affect the physical body in profound ways. They can lower blood pressure, alter breathing rate, elevate mood, can also take us beyond the everyday world to the spiritual world. I'm thinking about the experience I had listening to Gregorian chants, for example, or Tibetan singing bowls, or the shamanic drumming workshops I did with Angeles Arian, where I experienced amazing altered states of consciousness, or doing Qigong sound healing chanting with Ming Tong Gu, who will be my guest here next week. Well, with me in the studio today, right here, is Gary Malkin, a multiple Emmy and ASCAP award-winning composer/producer for feature films, national television programs, commercials, and CD projects. He's also a recording artist who uses music to promote peace, global healing, and to help integrate mind, heart, and spirit in all that we do. He creates inspiring, musically infused resources and events that have been a catalyst for bridging cross-cultural differences, reconciliation, and healing. Gary's the co-author of the internationally acclaimed book and CD set, Graceful Passages, A Companion for Living and Dying, which was created for those facing life-changing transitions, serious illness, or at the end of the life process. And it has been endorsed by chaplains, nurses, and doctors worldwide. He's also the founder of the media company Wisdom of the World, with a mission to use media to heal, empower, help people find their true purpose, strengthen their ability to compassionately connect with others, and inspire them to find greater success in all areas of life. He's launching a new concept in short format media called Wisdom Films, Media for Human Being. Great name. Soon to be available on Hulu.com. Welcome to your Supernatural Life, Gary.
Great being here, Beth.
It's fabulous to have you in the studio. So tell us when you first realized that music has the power to heal.
So many experiences. I started playing the piano at a friend's house. I just started playing, found a piano, and my right and left hand sort of knew where to go at 5 years old. And my mother came home to pick me up and said, the friend said, I didn't know he was studying piano. And my mother said, I didn't know either. And I think that I was hungry for something I didn't have much of in a typically dysfunctional but loving Jewish family in New York. There wasn't a lot of space or privacy,
right,
or lack or respect of boundaries, or what I call now presence. And inside I seem to have been born with a real desire for that. And there was an absence of it that forged this yearning. So at 5, when I played the piano, it literally felt like the hot poke in the cold pool. It was like, finally something that stopped time enough for me to feel like the breath of presence, So that was, I think, when I just literally first started to play, it was like a moth to flame. But one particular memory stood out, and that was I was 10 years old. I'd known that whenever people were fighting in my family, I'd go down to the piano to get away from all the chaos, and I'd start to play as a self-soothing technique. And I started to notice after months and years that people in the family start to chill out when the piano playing would start to
Interesting.
come. And I intuitively later put together that they were chilling out because the music in the home made people feel less strident and less less intruded on,
Oh, that's fascinating. Now, did you play an instrument aside from piano, or were you in a rock band, for example?
I was.
You were?
I was. When I was 10, 11, 12, we were playing Beatles tunes and all that in the basement, and I had the electric piano. And I was born in 53, so it was right around 66, 7, 8, 9 of those years, yeah.
And so then, I guess when you went through high school playing and...
Well, my thing was I grew up in the satellite of New York, right? So I was really interested in everything cultural and specifically even Broadway. So not only was I interested in pop music, but I loved the heart on your sleeve emotionality of Broadway musicals. Now, I know that might be a ticket to be accused of being extremely kitschy because it's not necessarily popular, but there was an enormous vibrance and beauty to the human expression, whether it's West Side Story or all these things. So I knew all those songs and went to New York frequently from the age of 11 on, alone, actually.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
So I something I knew about music was it brought people together in joy in a way that was so immediate and so universal that it didn't matter what you believed. The moment you played piano in the house, people would gravitate towards the piano and sing. And it was always
right. If you were a good piano player, because So that's interesting because I grew up in the suburbs of New York as well, and I used to go to shows all the time. It was fantastic. Yeah. But so what got you to want to create music for film and TV?
There was this one seminal moment, although, being a sensory junkie for the power of music and film, I was always really attracted to television. I was a television kid, like most kids those days. But one particular incident, there was a thing called the $1 Million Movie. I don't know if you remember.
Sure, Channel 9.
Channel 9. And they used to have the same movie playing every day for that whole week. Right. So this one day I was sick with a cold, a minor fever, and I was watching The Miracle Worker with Anne Bancroft and Patty Duke. Powerful film. And it was that scene, I guess I might have been about 10 or 11, and it was that scene when everybody knows this scene because it was the scene when Anne Bancroft, the Annie Sullivan character, finally taught Helen Keller how to use sign language at the water pump. Right. And early on the scene, there was this high string line that came in that indicated that something dramatic was about to happen. And most people wouldn't have noticed it.
No, I didn't. I probably don't.
No, it was meant to be subliminal. But having been tuned into music since the age of 5, I immediately noticed it. And what it did was I had this phantasmagoric experience where I was noticing the plot. I was also noticing the film score. And I was only 10 or 11, and it took me on this emotional ride. Yeah. So by the time the water was pumping and she was teaching sign language, my mother happened to walk in, and I was sobbing because of the plight of Helen Keller. And I'd never cried for anyone else's suffering as an 11-year-old in my life, But the experience was this moment where it all came together. The moment of healing that she offered Helen Keller, the moment of emotionality that the score provided, and this power that the film score created. And that moment, I said, well, number one, I'm going to make believe I'm sick all week so I can study the score. But number two, that was by Larry Rosenthal, who lives in the East Bay, actually. But number two, I promised myself, I said, I want to do that. I want to subliminally manipulate, in a good way, people's emotional experience so they can actually feel the power of the human experience.
And what better way than to do it on commercials? Hallmark, I still cry at some of those commercials, right?
I've done a lot of commercials, a lot of television, a lot of film. Yeah.
And so then how did you move into using music for healing? What was that transition?
I had the kind of career where every time there was either a pro bono spot or a public service announcement or a socially responsible cause like saving the environment or raising money for kids' cancer or something, I would go to bed at night where I hadn't made much money from those projects because I just gave to it, right? But I went to bed at night thinking, now this is something because I'm really contributing in some way. I'm really leaving something behind that makes the world a better place. And that frankly felt to me, well, how can I figure out a way to make my whole career be based on that.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody say, yeah, good luck, you know.
Right.
and then sure enough, at one point in my life, a very serious accident happened, and it coincided with a period when everything else shattered, a marriage, and it all happened 13 years ago. And it was during this time when I was really shattered, literally. I didn't know if I'd ever play piano again. I shattered my wrist into 18 pieces. And it was during that time that I really I started to evaluate, now, if I really knew that life was fragile and that we are mortal and that I could die at any moment, the truth is anything can happen, how would I want to live the rest of my life? And I thought to myself, you know what? I need to actually use my music and my passion to do what I want to do, which is to make the world a better place and devote it to projects that will make the world more sustainable, but also make our behavior more sustainable. And that's where healing music came into it. That's what happened.
It's fascinating. So let's talk about behavior, how music can actually affect behavior. So are there studies that show this?
Oh my God, it is so researched.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but we're in this renaissance of neuroscience proof on all the things that are going on in the brain with the power of sound and music. I mean, there's so much now coming in; it's exploding.
Mm-hmm.
If you start Googling music and healing, it used to be that music therapy was the only accepted modality that proved that you could, stay in the hospital for half the time, and you can do physical pain reduction by having surgery during the operation. There's all kinds of research, tons of things. But now they're showing, like, the power of, like you mentioned, the shamanic drumming in altered states. You actually have quantified information about what's happening in the brain when there's a thing called entrainment, which is entraining to a certain beat or a certain vibrational field or a harmonic field. And so the research is completely exploding right now. What I'm interested in is yet another level of research that hasn't yet been explored, that I'm really seeking research partners for, frankly, which is what happens when you line up the parts of the brain that process language, intention, emotion, along with the power of the catalytic power of film scoring. In other words, music that's used for film is designed to create an emotional field that calls you to feel something in a movie, right? Whether it's a narrative or a story or whatever. So what happens when you take that art form of film scoring and combine it with spoken wisdom that's meant to bless you or support you or help you, mentor you through a journey? The result is catalytic and alchemical. It's very powerful. And that's what I've been, for the last 13 years, I've been recording thought leaders and wisdom keepers from all over the world to set that to music and help people.
And it's beautifully done. And we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, let's talk about the spoken word and the work that you're working on now.
Thank you.
Okay.